Diary. Introductory. The years 1948 to 1950 saw the evening shadows gathering and closing on the mortal coil of the Master. Advancing age brought a series of mishaps to it: a fall, a nervous hiccup lasting many days, a clinging rheumatism, and lastly a malignant tumour, which inch by inch ate up the flesh of his left arm, poisoned his blood, and finally rang down the curtain on a life purer than which there has never been, nor will ever be. Of these 2 critical years I felt a strong urge to keep a diary to record the Maharshi's movements, talks, and the condition of his health, for no other object than to perpetuate for myself his blessed memory. But after his Mahanirvana, I felt the same urge to share it with his devotees in order to bring back to them those hallowed scenes and events which marked the last days of his earthly life. Some of the talks I incorporated in part 2 of this book. Since that never-to-be-forgotten night of April 14, 1950, when the Maharshi for the last time laid down his body and completely merged in the peace everlasting, from which there is no return, many of his close disciples have also shed their bodies and followed him. To others who are still with us, and who in the beginning took some time to recover from the painful void which his physical absence had created in their lives, continue to feel his holy presence, particularly in their meditation, which proves the scriptural pledge that the spiritual link that nature forges between master and disciple, time, the all-destroyer, has no power to break, till the disciple succeeds in scaling the same height as the master and attains union with him. 16th June 1948. An article about Sri Maharshi has appeared in the Free Press, Madras. Professor Subramaya of Nellore reads it aloud so that all present may hear. Sri Maharshi intently follows in another copy, so intently that one would think he was correcting an important manuscript. He occasionally passes humorous remarks and broadly smiles. In the end, he directs his attendant to cut and paste it in the special file. June 8:30 a.m. Jagadish Sastry, a Sanskrit scholar and Maharshi's devotee, arrives from Madras. Sri Bhagavan enters into an earnest conversation with him. I hear him counting on his fingertips, tanana, tana, tana, from which I infer they are discussing meter of Sanskrit verse. Sri Bhagavan goes on speaking and gesticulating uninterruptedly for about 20 minutes, obviously explaining some passages. Then Sri Sastry mentions Vidyaranya as saying that Chit can be Shiva and Shakti at one and the same time as well as separately. Sri Bhagavan quotes from Arunachala Purana that in essence both are one and the same Chit, and reads from this book with deep emotion. He goes into ecstasy on Gautama's praise of Shiva. Though smiles light his face, tears pour out of his eyes, of which none has a suspicion till he wipes them and blows his nose. It is now 9:55. Sri Maharshi suddenly realizes that he is late for his usual small walk by 10 minutes. "Oh, so late," he remarks, and takes to oiling his knees and hip joints to ease their rheumatic stiffness before rising. Pointing to his body, he says smilingly, "This machine cannot move without oiling." The famous cow Lakshmi, the pet of the ashram, who has been ailing since some time, today passed away at about noon. Having known of her approaching death, Sri Maharshi went to the Goshala, the cow house, at about 9:45 a.m., sat on the ground, put her head in his lap and stroked it gently, repeating with infinite tenderness, "Lakshmi ma, 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 Lakshmi," to comfort her in her last hour. At 6:30 p.m., Lakshmi's body was brought in a cart to the north of the dining hall for burial. All the ashramites gathered, and in the midst of them sat Sri Maharshi on a chair, while the Brahmins were giving her the ceremonial bath as they do to a human body with dozens of pots of water. Sri Bhagavan softly told her life story to those standing by his side, how she had been brought to the ashram in 1924 as a calf 6 months old, and how she lived longer than the usual 20-year span. He praised her sweet, affectionate nature and her intelligence, adding, she might have been a sadhaka in the past, which made her deserve to be brought to the ashram to attain mukti. Bath over, the Brahmin smeared her whole body with turmeric and marked her forehead with sacramental vermilion, kumkum. They decked her with fresh jasmine garlands and put a new red silk scarf round her neck, then burnt camphor and incense near her. She was then wheeled a few yards away for burial, to witness which Sri Bhagavan had with difficulty to climb a few steps. I have never seen Sri Maharshi so weak as this evening. After the burial of Lakshmi, the people began to disperse, and he too was attempting to descend the 3 steps near the dispensary with the help of the wall, but he started vacillating and shaking. Although the steps were broad and of moderate height, he was not able to negotiate them alone. 2 attendants held him at the hips and helped him down them. It was with great trepidation that we watched him through the process, and when we saw him reach the flat ground safely, we heaved a sigh of relief. He generally does not like anyone to interfere with him or offer him a helping hand. He hardly accepts the help of his own attendants, and often tells them to mind their own business. We can only look on at his difficulties and feel sad at heart that we can do nothing for him.